And I'm like, thank you, God. So Steve and I just loved Josh and loved Josh. His senior year, God had convicted me about Josh. And I, again, will do anything for my kids to be okay. And God had showed me that Josh would probably live the rest of his life thinking this: if I'd have just been a little better little boy, and maybe my mama might have been happy. And I could not let him live the rest of his life that way. So he came home one weekend of his senior year. And when Josh would come home, he'd pull his car up in the driveway as far as he'd go, because at this point he liked us, because we had just loved him. And we went out and did something on Friday night. On Saturday morning, we got up early, and Steve went outside to do something in the yard, and I was in the kitchen. Josh was still asleep, and Janae was still home at that point. She was asleep. Steve came in the kitchen and got me. He said, Debbie, come here, I want to show you something. He took me outside, and he took me over to Josh's car. And y'all know boys don't do stuff like this. But Steve took me to the driver's side and told me to look in the window of the car. And when I looked in the car, there was that card of mine. And Steve said, Debbie, don't ever underestimate the power of your words in his life. Yeah. And I thought, okay, God, I got to finish this. So that afternoon we were watching football. We're kind of a football fanatic family. We were laying on the floor watching football, and it was halftime of some game. And I looked over at Josh and I said, baby, would you come back here with me? I said, I need to talk to you. He looked at me funny like, what's wrong, Mom? And I said, just come back here with me. We were walking back to my bedroom, and he came up behind me and he took my hand. Josh has always held my hand. He was a big boy when he was born. He was 9'8". That child just consumed me. And when he was born, the doctor looked at his hands, and they were big, and he said, that boy's going to be a wide receiver. And I think at that point we played with his hands all the time, to the point that he loves to hold hands. And I remember when he met his wife, I thought, he's never going to hold my hand, but that boy still holds my hand to this day. But he took my hand, and it was as if God was saying to me, Debbie, this is good. So I took him back to my room, and I said, Josh, I've got to apologize to you. And he said, for what, Mom? And I said, for years and years and years, when you were a little boy, I said, I wasn't a happy camper. And I said, the reason I wasn't happy is I thought Daddy was supposed to make me happy. And then I thought things were supposed to make me happy, and a house would make me happy, and cars would make me happy. And I said, but bottom line, I've realized in the last couple of years the only person that can make me happy is Jesus. And I said, and I cannot let you live the rest of your life thinking you were the reason I wasn't happy. Yeah. I said, baby, it was never you. And then I braced myself thinking he's going to remind me of every spanking I gave him I shouldn't have. And with tears streaming down his face, he said, Mama, it's okay. But let me tell you what happened that day that I had no idea. That day, Josh ran back into the arms of Jesus. That's right. Because of what I was willing to do. He went from bouncer of a bar to staff on a church. That's a pretty darn good staff member. Can I just tell you? And let me say this to you. Yeah. Some of you are irritable today because you still think you're the reason for your mom and dad's unhappiness. And I would love, love, love for them to come to you and set you free. But you know what? It may not happen. So would you let me? Can I tell you? Can I convince you? It was never you.
That's right.
My parents married at 17 and 18 years old. Heaven forbid I've had a 17 and an 18-year-old. I can't imagine. They did the best they could. But some of us will spend the rest of our lives irritable over something that was never about us.